Hi, this is James here. I'm going to be talking you through key light and green screen in After Effects, how to use it, why to use it, and the best practices to keep you from getting your fingers chopped off from your bosses. So for this purpose I'm using CS5. The same things are available in CS4, so you can still use CS4. I haven't really used CS3 before. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to hit New Composition, which is just here. This will open up our composition settings. I'm going to call this Trial, just because it's just going to be used as a sort of test basis. You want to keep your sizes at 720 by 576, just because I'm running DVPAL. That would just be the standard format for the UK and Ireland. I think it's Europe as well. Frame rate I'm keeping at 25 because that's PAL's frame rate. You can choose from a selection. If you're using NTSC it'll be around 30, or alternatively you can click on the NTSC selection there. I'm going to be running this at 5 seconds long, so it won't be a very long tutorial, just because tracking markers will take ages otherwise, and it's not something we really need to go into that much because as you may well see, I haven't got that many moving shots, so everything's going to be a still shot. So first of all we're going to open our files, put our files into the project. So we double click in this space here, left click, this will open up your import file. You can do a couple of files or which files you want to use. I'm going to open up this file here, the tutorial file. This has got two files that I have ready for this tutorial. So I'm going to click on that one and shift click another one and select both of these. Straight unmatted is fine. If yours comes up with that, it's just the format of the film that's coming in. So there we have our QuickTime file, which is my video, which I'll give you a little test of in a sec. And then apart from that we also have what I'm going to be using for the green screen, the background that's going to go instead. Okay, so this is Jerome. He's going to be our guinea pig for this tutorial, and this is just going to go through the ins and outs of how to present your green screen properly, how to use the key light system, and in the end how to have a finished product that doesn't have stupid outlines around the side and is the right colour. We have our tracking markers at the back, which I have put on the written tutorial. So the tracking markers are important if you're doing a CG environment and you're going to be having a moving shot, but apart from that I wouldn't really use them. If you are going to be doing a moving shot, you'll have tracked in something like Matchmover, Bonjour. There's quite a few programs. There isn't an option to do it in this, but as I say, because I'm not using a moving shot, I won't need to use that. So first of all, adjust your video file to the size of the composition settings. That will just mean it will render at full rather than having a really zoomed in picture. So we just leave that like that. So for the purpose of this tutorial we're not going to need those tracking markers, so I'm going to get rid of them now. So if we double click on this file here, it will open in its own layer up the top. So we've got the little tabs up the top. That's our composition, which is where everything is, everything that's actually in our trial composition settings here, but we want to be in here. So what we'll do from here is, if you're on a Mac, you'll hit Command B for me, because that will actually bring up your brush, which can alternatively be found at the top, which is that little icon there. We're then going to press the Alt key. This will be our eyedropper, and this will take the colour from around the tracking marker and replace it with the colour of our choice. Again, that can be found down here, but it's a lot quicker if you use the Alt key, just because you can switch in and out of it. Now I've already set these my actual brush to the size that I'll need. If you want to reset it, if you hold down the command button and just move your mouse up and down, it will rescale it to the size that you sort of need. So I'm only going to need about that sort of size. Yes. Okay, so down the bottom, this is our brush toolpad. This will give us a load of different modes of what you want to put on the effect. I'm just going to keep it as normal. The channels will just be RGBA because I'm not working any special film. And the duration, you have to make sure that's on single frame. You can do this on constant, but if we make a mark on the green screen, and then it will stay there the entire time, which we really don't want. Just because if the subject moves across that green screen, you'll get a massive green dot on his face, which isn't good. So I'm going to Command Z that, and that removes that. Okay, so first of all I'm going to do a little RAM preview just to show you these buttons. If we hit the right hand button here, which says RAM preview, here in the preview tab box, this will actually give us a full screen mode of what we're viewing. This will render it through. This won't be in real time. This may have a little bit of juttering in it just because it's rendering. Now we've only got a 5-second clip, so this should end soon. Now when we go to click the play button, this should run at full frame. And it does. So our trial is only 5 seconds long, so this, if we do this on our actual project, then it should run a normal frame. There we go, that's 25 frames per second. Okay, so enough about the actual film import footage. We don't need that. We need to go back to our brush in our layer and just literally cancel out those little tabs. As you can see, it's really simply done. Now the reason the eyedrop is there is because that is very blatant that it's a cover-up. So if we go back near this and hit the eyedropper tool, when we next brush over it, it masks it in a lot better quality. Same will be over here. If I did the same colour down up here, it will look way too dark for the actual point. So we need to use the eyedropper key and press the left click, just because that will take the colours from the surrounding areas and use those so it doesn't look as blatant. There's another one down here. That one we may not have to worry about too much. So you see I'm just resizing the clip just to suit what mode I'm using it in. If I've got a really faint line there, I may go smaller than that. I very much doubt it. But usually I come back to a constant of about 63 pixels in diameter, around 60, 63. You got your diameter settings there. Yeah, so we're going to run frame by frame, which may take a while. So I'm going to run through this on my own and I'll come back to you. If you do the same thing, then you'll need to do that. So what you'll need to do is to run frame by frame. You can either go very, very slowly across the tool, across the zoom, and just run frame by frame, but that's a lot more time consuming. If you make the screen, the time slider, as big as possible and then hold Command down and press the right button or left button, it will just take you frame by frame. So I'll be back to you probably in about 2 seconds and I'll have done all this. Okay, bye. Okay, all of my tracking points are masked over, so you won't see the actual mask to them. Now it doesn't matter too much that the colour's out a little bit, it will still work. Okay, so now what we've got to do is we've got to go to the keylight properties. So what we do is if we go up to Effect and go to Keying, go to Keylight 1.2, this will bring our option box. Now this will be the effect controls. You'll be able to get back to your project in the top left hand corner. So that will switch in and out of what you want to do with this specific clip. If we close that down and go back into our composition settings, all our tracking markers will still be masked out, so there's no worries about that. So the first things you want to select is the eyedropper tool for the screen color. This will mask out anything of a specifically colour you choose. So we're going to choose probably the greenest point on here, and that just, as you see, completely turns it to black. Now the good thing about After Effects is it doesn't see matted black, I believe, which means you can physically place anything over the top of it. So for this, I've already got a file, which is a Photoshop file, already laid out, ready to just plaster over the top of this. So get your file together and import it. So you can import it by just double clicking on the option box here. That will bring up the import file. Now from there you can select whatever sort of file you were looking, JPEG, photo. If you've got another video clip you want to stick behind, you can do exactly the same thing. Yeah, that will work, no problem. So I'm going to choose this and click and drag this into my composition. So this puts this file in front of behind Jerome, which, as we say, is the file that we were looking for. So we can position this however we want to, whether we want him being quite tall or him being quite small. We can change this file to sort of suit. He could be a midget, or he could be average height. And just say the bar stool's pretty high. I built this model and rendered it out in Maya, so all of the files are all there, and this is an actual file. So technically, if you can see here, we've got quite a bit of blur. Now that's from the green screen behind, which we don't really want because it won't give a good quality finish to the file. So if we go back into Effect Controls and select the movie, and then change the screen gain up. The screen gain will take any of the original green screen back to any of the things that would be closely recognised. So anything that has a fade of green around it will be affected in that. So if we look, the first main point to go is just behind his legs by his right arm. That's the first colour to sort of switch. Now that doesn't matter too much, so we want to get rid of the crease, which is here, which is actually the crease on the green screen. So what we'll do is we'll just make it just tall enough so it wipes out, so just about there, and that will completely mask out there. The screen balance is another good point to look at. If we zoom in by scrolling the mouse in and out, it will just, if you can see the slight green outline to him, we want to get rid of that. So it will really sort of cut down the marking points to him. And actually, if he moves, you won't get a slight tinge of green. So usually it's set quite middle of the range, which is a little bit higher than what we want. So we're going to bring this down a slight bit. So the way we move these is actually click and drag on them, or if you double click you can put your own values in. But for this, that's sort of fine. We want to put that at around about, let's say around about 50, probably a little bit less. If we keep it about 38, that looks pretty good. Now rendering this through, all the other settings you won't really need to change for the time being. If you're doing a little bit more detail, you may want to look into some of the other stuff. But if it's just a basic green screen that you're looking to sort of class over the top, you can put all sorts of different movements into it. You can also animate the screen itself, so we can have it change its scale by just using the normal clock tools that we'll use in After Effects to animate the say scale of the object, which we can have starting at that point. If we move up to 1 second, it could have a slight zoom on it, and we could do the same for the video. So we could have transformation. There's shortcut keys available for this. I know T does screen does T. If you hit the T key, it will change the transparency to the object. Scale is S, so that's all we'll be using. We want to keep that like that, and then when it gets to the second marker, we can have it zoom a little bit by changing the values on here, which is pretty good. So that is basically the key light controls. That'll allow you to put a green screen behind any object. The last thing I'm going to do now is actually show you how to add it to a render queue. Now what we could do, I believe, if we select a music file, so say for the purpose of this, because we're in quite a ghetto little top, so if we go to my iTunes, sorry it's probably going to be drastically stupid, but if we choose something like Big Pimpin', we can select that and import that into our files as well. Attach that underneath, so that will actually play through while it's running. Now it'll only run for 5 seconds, so you probably won't get a good sort of soundtrack to it, but that doesn't matter too much. I'm just pressing the space bar to run through what we're watching. As you see in the info bar, it's running at not real time, but that's just because the orange bar is rendering through. If we choose a RAM preview, it will run at full screen and render through a tiny bit quicker. Now when it hits that marker, we can click the escape key, and that should free us up, or freeze the computer. There we go. It's alright, we can come out of that now. So we can run back to the front, click that again. Have a little bit of fun with that. So what we'll do now is, when we're ready to render and we've done the tracking markers out, and we've implanted the key light green screen over the top, if we go to the actual editing tab and go to add to render queue, you can then add that trial to the render queue, click on best settings. This will just give you an overview of what you're running at, the resolution of the screen. It's sort of your last chance to change any of the sections that you want to change, so the size of the screen, the duration, the actual frame rate, they're all fine for us. If we go to the lossless, that's where everything will be formatted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it in a QuickTime format, and then format options. If I go click on this part here, this will give us loads of different format options. Now I'm going to use H.264 because it's one of the best compression rates to keep quality in as well. So I'll just click OK on that. And the last thing, which a lot of people find a bit annoying when first rendering, is that their files don't come with any sound. So if we click the audio options here, that will format with sound. You've got some format options there as well. AAC, which is an Apple standard, MPEG, which is known within film, but we're fine for just the way it is. We'll click OK on that. And output 2 is the last point. Now this will be the name of the file or where you want it to save to. So again, for us, we're just going to click comp name, which is the little option box here, just because it will call it trial. What I may do is we may call it trial, but put it on the desktop so it's easy to find. If we save that and then hit the render button, this will just render through those 5 seconds. Shouldn't be too long, should be about just below real time, so the time elapsed, yeah, it won't be a minute, it'll be less than a minute, probably be about 30 seconds. Okay. 30 seconds. There we go, that sound means everything's done. So if we come out of After Effects, we should have trial somewhere on here. There's our trial. If we open that up, double clicking on it, that's your green screen. Now I've only done this quickly, but as you say, the screen gain there is a little bit out, just on the top of his hood, and some of the elements to it. But within After Effects you are able to clock that and change it. So within the After Effects controls, you'll literally be able to clock that. So say we go to the start, screen gain's fine there, but say by the time it gets to sort of like there, we may want to switch it up a little bit, or down a little bit, just to keep the darkness to it. And that should give a good transition across. And you can just repeat the rendering. So, okay, this is James Tompkins. I hope I've been helpful, and that the tutorial has helped you learn, and even if it's just taught you a few of the little tips and tricks about the brush tools, the eyedropper tools, tracking, and also the text tutorial, which should have given you a bit of an insight into the way you should set out your green screen and how you should use it. Okay, so that's all from me. Speak to you later. Bye.